Our other leadership that we have joining us, Mr. Mike Leach, Director of South Carolina Department of Social Services, Amber Gillum, Director of Economic Services with DSS, is also with us. And those are our boots on the ground for SNAP implementation here in South Carolina. So I'd like to pass it to Mr. Leach, and then we will kick off our SERO All-Star panel. Take it away, Mike.
Oh, great. Thanks, Bridget. Man, I am glad to be with you guys today, and nice to see our USDA federal partners on the phone. Willie Taylor with the nice background right there.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Leach. I'm the State Director for South Carolina Department of Social Services. I look forward to hearing the conversation around how we can work together to support SNAP families and our program staff. So I'm going to try to keep this brief. Throughout the pandemic, we've had to take measured steps to continue our critical mission of providing food, childcare, financial assistance, and promoting the safety and well-being of children, families, and adults. In South Carolina, we serve 1 in 6 South Carolinians in all of our program areas: child support, APS, child welfare, economic services, childcare, and we've had to adapt a lot during the pandemic. Our staff and our partners have worked tirelessly to continue providing services under the circumstances and adapting practices and processes to the state of emergency. And while the last 13 months have stretched our capacity, our endurance, our funding, and tested our resilience, our staff continue to work through the barriers. Many of my staff who are working as eligibility folks for SNAP make no more than $23,000, and the equipment we use on the economic side of the shop is very outdated, and as far as the system and the technology, and so working from home was not an option for most of this, and so we had to work through a lot of those things. Economic services is one area that DSS remains in response mode and probably will be for the next several months. However, we also need to focus on returning to normal, whatever that looks like. We need to pick up the projects and resume the duties that were placed on hold or lower on the priority when the pandemic hit. When March and April hit initially, last year, I mean, the amount of applications coming in was just extraordinary. And all of us were registering cases and processing cases, weekends, nights. I was, Amber was. I mean, it was all hands on deck because we couldn't keep up with the amount. We received nearly 400,000 applications since the start of the pandemic last March. It's about 149,000 more than we typically receive prior to COVID. And while we're pleased to see the number of applications coming in starting to return to what we could consider normal levels, at this point, our volume is still about 40 or 50% higher than pre-COVID averages. Our SNAP's caseload has increased approximately 30,000 cases and over 47,000 clients from February 2020 to February 2021. Due to the emergency supplements authorized by Congress and the USDA, the amount of benefits going to South Carolina's families and supporting the state's economy is nearly double what it is prior to COVID. So we've issued over 130 million in SNAP benefits in February 2021, compared to 67 million in February 2020. So that's month over month, we're about doubling our benefits going out. With the most recent change authorized by USDA, the amounts of benefits available to SNAP recipients will increase further. Beginning this month, all SNAP households will receive a minimum of $95 emergency supplements. And prior to this change, supplements had not been directly benefiting the neediest individuals and families, as they already received the maximum SNAP allotment or close to it due to their lack of income and services. 133,000 households in South Carolina will receive an additional increase in the supplements for April. The additional SNAP benefits totaling 10.5 million were loaded onto EBT cards yesterday, actually. In addition to the SNAP applications and increase, we've deployed pandemic EBT to help mitigate the financial impact created by these school closures and kids consuming meals at home as they otherwise would have through the National Free or Reduced Price Meals Program. Last year's PEBT program, nearly 159 million additional federal SNAP benefits into the hands of South Carolina families within a 2-month period. 481,000 children received that for the 2019-2020 school year. 36% of those children were already receiving SNAP. In March, we launched a PEBT 2.0, and that covers 2021 school year and provides benefits to students attending school virtually. Just quick update on that. The first round for that has been completed, and 378,000 qualified students had at least one day of virtual attendance between September and December. And as of April 20th, all of them have been issued PEBT cards. 267,000 of those cards have already been activated by users. The total PEBT benefits issued in the first round is about 94 million. And the second round of issuances covering January and February is underway, and 363,000 students will qualify for that. And these children will receive their benefits on or before the 25th of April. And that second round is around $52 million going out. So just to wrap it up, as you can hear, our staff have been busy over the past 13 months. Looking back, it would have been easy for us as an agency to stick to the bare minimum. And goodness knows the bare minimum alone had its share of challenges and still does. But we're not here, Amber and I and the team are not here to do what's easy, or we're here to push and grind and stretch ourselves. And our agency, our partners, our practices to transform the way we view and do this work, so that no child, individual, or family in South Carolina ever has to feel unsafe, lacking, or less than. And so that's what we're working towards and committed to. So I welcome ideas. I can't wait to hear more. Hear your feedback, and if you have thoughts on how we can make improvements to our program, let us know. So thank you. I know I went very fast, but I want to hear from you all more so than me. So
that was a ton of great information, Mike. Thank you so much. And thank you to South Carolina DSS. I know that you guys were out of the gate running. To say that you have adapted enormously in the last year, I think is the understatement of the century. I know how hard that you guys have been working, and having stood up PEBT and put together a really great program that other states have emulated. I definitely want to take the opportunity to say thank you for serving South Carolina so well. I think we probably have our bulk of folks, and I want to quickly make sure to thank our funders who made this call possible: the Food Resource and Action Center, or FRAC, the Food Trust, and the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And I think that going forward, Mike hit this on the head with state agencies are tasked with still being in pandemic response mode and the idea of returning to normal. So I know that the SERO office is going to have ideas about both of those things. And without further ado, I turn it over to you.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you, Bridget. I appreciate this. Good afternoon, Willie Taylor, Regional Administrator here for Food and Nutrition Services in the Southeast region. First of all, I want to thank Mike. You made my job that much easier today. You provided a lot of the stats and updates, so I won't be repetitive.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Won't be repetitive. Director, or I guess I call him Commissioner, but Commissioner Secretary Leach, or Director Leach, if you will. He and Amber have been great partners to us in SERO. They've been very forthcoming. They challenge us when they feel there are areas or policies that we should consider. And they're also very supportive in terms of things that we need to roll out. So again, I want to say, Mike, Amber, thank you for being gracious partners with us. And we take that term seriously in terms of partners, if you will. You said all-star team. I'm not going to belabor the point. I'm going to let the all-stars get here and talk to you, but I just want to share a quick piece, and I won't get drilled down into the detail. I'll let my all-star team do that. Just real quick, the SNAP priorities that we look at from FNS under President Biden's administration, under Secretary Vilsack's leadership now. Of course, we want to continue to look at SNAP employment and training, and my team will drill down into it. We also, the number one thing is we want to increase access and participation in the programs. That's the number one focus we want to have. You've heard about some of the special programs that Mike has shared, and you heard in some other conversations about pandemic EBT is the way we help, make sure that individuals have access, whether it be students at learning from home, et cetera. They have that opportunity. I'll share with you something new that we are working on in terms of supporting the new administration. Is we're looking at a racial equity lens into our programs and seeing where and how we can improve or identify, whether it be policy, programs, people, if you will, how we can identify those core areas and say, what do we do to make it better? Last but not least, I would share and challenge to everyone on the call. If you have an idea, suggestion, or way of seeing FNS do better, continuous improvement aspect, please share that with me or my team, and we will gladly accept that. It's not a us versus you or them versus us versus someone else. It's how do we get better? We're all public servants. We want to make sure that the public is served to the extent possible with the best customer engagement that they can have, as well as making sure that from a taxpayer standpoint of view, there is a return on that investment. And our programs, we say benefits a lot and understand that's the jargon that we use, but we're making investments in people and their lives. And if we can help someone transition from point A to point B, or help them get through that challenging time of their life or their career or their journey, if you will, we want to be a part of that in a very positive process. So with that being said, I would just quickly name them, and then I'll let them go in whichever particular order they choose to. I want to recognize Mr. Gene Malvo. He's our SNAP director for SERO. Mr. Brian McCall, he's our acting deputy regional administrator, but he also has an extensive background in SNAP, as well as Ms. Hope Williams. She's on the call as well to provide some subject matter experts. So with that, I'll stop and I'll turn it over to Gene so that we can give you all some of the details of what we're doing here from SNAP in South Carolina. Oh, one last point. I am a Clemson Tiger. I did graduate in 1992, just to let you know. Go Tigers. You got it, Gene.
All right. Thanks, Willie. They might tune you out after that comment. So again, I'm Gene Malvo, Regional SNAP Director, and we do have a PowerPoint presentation. Hope if you want to pull that up real quick, but trust me, it won't take long because I suspect you all probably want to get to ask us and Mr. Leach and Amber Gillum some questions. So if we can figure out how to pull it up, we'll do that. If not, we'll just touch on some key FNS agency priorities. Mr. Taylor already mentioned a couple. The first one is payment accuracy. Despite the pandemic, despite all the challenges that our state partners have gone through, we at FNS continue to focus on payment accuracy. And I am happy to report that South Carolina, for our region, 8 states in the Southeast region, has the lowest payment accuracy rate or payment error rate. So congratulations to Mr. Leach and Amber Gillum on their focus and attention on payment accuracy. So we continue to work with their team, with quality control and the policy teams to ensure that happens and stays that way. So kudos on that. And it doesn't look like we're going to pull up a PowerPoint. So, and please jump in if you have questions about that. Don't hesitate. But I will leave time at the end if you want to ask questions, and you can also put questions in the chat also.
Gene.
Yes.
Gene. I'm sorry. It's saying that the host has disabled sharing.
Okay. All right.
So if the host can enable sharing, then we're able to share the PowerPoint.
All right, I will do my best.
Okay.
Okay.
And if not, we can share later. That's fine too. So just bear with me as I read through a couple key points, and again, jump in as need be. Mr. Taylor mentioned employment and training. We continue to focus on SNAP employment and training. We want to continue to give our SNAP households the skills and resources they need to get off SNAP ultimately and be self-sufficient. So that's one of our goals. And again, I'm proud to report that South Carolina is the model for the Southeast region and the state for that, and the nation for that matter. They have more partners. They spend more dollars related to employment and training in our region. And they've been used as a role model across the nation, as I mentioned. Mr. Taylor already mentioned increasing access and participation in nutrition assistance programs, so I won't dwell on that, but we do have SNAP outreach and nutrition education, those programs that allow us to focus on that. Okay. Yeah, go back one, Hope. One goal also is to develop a comprehensive PEBT program that reaches about 75% eligible children. And Mr. Leach and Mr. Taylor have already touched on PEBT. And in South Carolina, again, you all have an approved plan for the school year, current school year. But we do challenge South Carolina to consider extending that program, expanding that program to include children in eligible child care agencies. So we do ask you all to consider that, okay? There's some additional flexibilities, opportunities in South Carolina related to, well, we'll talk about the online purchasing pilot. This is another opportunity for South Carolina. I know you all have considered that, but we have Walmarts, the Walmarts of the world, the Aldi's of the world, Amazons of the world that have participated in online purchasing pilot. Hopefully you all are familiar, our partners here are familiar with online purchasing pilot. It allows clients, SNAP clients, to purchase foods online.
Mr. Malveaux, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So I know in one of our RSVPs, and just through community partners, one of our questions in terms of online ordering with SNAP is the availability of that being extended to a broader group of retailers and being extended to smaller scale, independent retailers in particular. Is that level of advocacy appropriate to communicate with you, with Mike, with Mr. Taylor, who I know that we've got a lot of folks who want to have that conversation? Who is the appropriate person?
Well, from my perspective, you can certainly communicate that to us. It is happening nationwide. We do have smaller retailers, individual retailers that participate in the online purchasing pilot. So certainly we encourage you to work with your state partners and the state agency in that regard, but we're standing by to provide the technical assistance to make that happen. And I'm not sure if Mr. Leach or Amber would like to further comment on that, but there are other smaller retailers participating, even though we list some of the large ones there. Bridget.
I don't know if I don't have any comment. Amber might have something on that. She did put in there, just because it was just brought up, that we are developing the plan for PBT for children 0 to 6 and implementing later this year. So we are working towards that.
Yeah, Bridget, if I can just echo what Gina said, yeah, we in some of the smaller retailers, I'll just say, for example, we do have a small retailer that is working in the state of Alabama now. Matter of fact, they were one of the first ones in the country, and they're small independent. So yeah, we will work with whomever, whichever entity, localized, or if they're a nationwide chain. We just need to make sure that in this case, and I'll say respectfully, that our state partners are welcoming, and that's something that they can support. And once they give us that acknowledgement, then we, as Gina stated, we work through our technical assistance to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed, to make sure that it'll be beneficial to the participants to utilize that particular entity.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. And I think just to quickly echo again, the beauty of this broad spectrum of partners coming together today, the small retailer, for example, the possibility of being connected to a similarly situated partner, even in another state, that could provide that mentorship or technical support, is a goal of this project that we can band together across sectors and levels of advocacy to move things forward with SNAP. So thank you, Mr. Malveaux. I interrupted you.
No, that's the whole point. So thanks for that question, and we can certainly have more conversations, separate conversations about making that happen. Some further opportunities in South Carolina: disaster. We never like to have to respond to a disaster, but we have the know-how and capability to respond. Hope if you go to the next slide. South Carolina, they operated DSNAP a few years ago. Knock on wood, hopefully we don't get in another situation or position where we have to operate, but we are standing by to assist South Carolina in regards to disaster response. whether it's allowing more time to apply for food items, or if you need to replace foods that were lost during the disaster. And obviously the DSNAP, if it's widespread loss and you have clients that don't participate in the normal SNAP program, then we have the disaster SNAP available in that regard. And I think, go back one, I think I missed a slide. Yeah, this isn't really SNAP related, but it is related to the pandemic and some additional flexibilities that USDA has issued regarding school meal patterns and programs. This is primarily our child nutrition program, and I just wanted to show you all some additional opportunities there. Okay, so we'll go to the last slide. So you have FNS on the call, you have state leadership on the call. So how can FNS support the advocate community? And we also would like to ask you all what Mr. Taylor mentioned also, what would you all like for us to consider as far as priorities and opportunities? We don't have much time, sorry, but we have about 6 minutes. If there are any questions, shoot away. You got Mr. Taylor on, Mr. Leach, Amber Gillum, and my team.
Well, I hate to keep selfishly hogging this wonderful opportunity, so I encourage other folks to jump in on the chat. But I know that one opportunity that I think is shared across all levels of advocacy is the possibility of just making permanent some of the flexibilities that have worked well for not only SNAP families, but also the state agencies. And so one ask that I would put forth today, and then I invite folks to follow up with us, and we can, Mr. Taylor, Mr. Malvo, I will forward you a list I'm sure we'll put together, but I know that college student flexibility is high on folks' priority list in terms of the restrictions under regular times that restrict eligibility to college students that they need to work those 20 hours a week. We know that that has an inequitable effect on families in South Carolina. And we embrace the flexibilities that have been put in place during the pandemic that convey eligibility to work study eligible students. So that is one top of mind. And I know another top of mind is South Carolina still has the full SNAP drug felon ban in effect during the, stemming from 1990s welfare reform. And I know that that is a high priority for advocates to get rid of.
Okay, thanks for sharing that, Bridget. And I see in the chat, Karen asked if we could provide the college student eligibility. So that's something we'll send out to the group in a follow-up to this meeting, so we can do that. Mr. Leach or Amber Gillum, I don't know if you want to comment on the drug felon ban. Not sure if you have any thoughts on that.
I think we have a lot of thoughts. We talk with Sue Berkowitz from time to time about that. And you know, I do think that on a federal level, I hope that, you know, everybody starts looking at that as just a single thing that could just be, you know, done. I know we're the only state with that, but again, how far it goes within each state, it's completely different. So, you know, that is something that probably needs to occur nationally on a statewide level. You know, I think there is some advocacy going on to try to address that. Amber, anything?
No, I don't know that I have anything to add on the drug felony piece.
Okay, very well. Any other questions? Surely not just Bridget.
I'd like to jump in and ask a question. Hi, my name is Courtney Watson. I work for an organization called Food Share South Carolina. We provide boxes of fresh fruits and vegetables to folks all across the state. We're building a network of organizations that leverage that SNAP retailer opportunity to distribute these boxes to our most rural areas. And the ability to accept EBT online is a tremendous value to us that we have not been able to access for years. So the fact that there is a smaller retailer in another state doing that is of great interest to us. And I would love to find out more about how we navigate that process, because we've largely thought that we would be left out of that conversation for years to come. So I would just take any information about how we can move forward on that.
Thank you so much, Courtney. And I know that that question marries a lot of different SNAP issues. So rural healthy food access, EBT issues, and also the SNAP incentive program in South Carolina, I think is also something that's really utilized well by Food Share. So thank you so much for sharing that.
So Brittany, let me just say real quick, so maybe we can set up a separate call for everyone that's interested in that process and how we can provide technical assistance at the federal level. And obviously we'll invite the state agency also, they'll be a part of this, but we can go ahead and start those conversations now. So we'll work to get that scheduled if that's good with you all. Courtney's shaking her head.
That would be tremendous.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Bridget, this is Sue. I was just going to jump in to say, I think that there's even smaller rural farmers markets, and not all rural. I know one, Pinehurst is on this call, and April and I've had some discussions about the cost of setting up EBT and just the upfront and how that really does put a barrier for smaller farmers markets and food access, as well as the upfront cost and then the length of time to get the reimbursement. So it'd be wonderful to start having those discussions both on a state level and with the region to talk about how maybe through the feds we could cut through some of that to make access easier. So April, I saw you on there, and I think it was timely for us to raise that issue, because I know that's very important to you and other small farmers markets.
Thank you so much, Sue. I appreciate the solidarity in mentioning the Pinehurst Farmers Market. So we're located downtown Columbia, and we've been going on for over 2 years, but we are a very small market. And so it's definitely a barrier for us. But what we have done is just empowered our farmers to use solidarity and fraternity with the customers that come. So people who have $5, they're able to really get a good portion for that $5.
Awesome. Thank you so much, April. And I know we're at 2:30. I'll quickly note something that has been shared with advocates who are on this call, and that I will take this opportunity to float to the SERO office. Looking at the vendor contracts in terms of how the EBT vendor policies and contract terms affect folks in South Carolina, especially the smaller outfits like Food Share, like Pinehurst. One example I'll just mention quickly is that the contract allows for an EBT card reader to go to nonprofits, but it is an analog reader. So it requires a phone line. And if a farmer's market, for example, doesn't have access to a phone line, then they need to pay for a fancier EBT card reader. So I think there's an enormous amount of room for advocates to be part of the conversation around negotiating those vendor contracts and providing feedback. And I really look forward to that opportunity going forward.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Quick question for April at Pinehurst. Do you all accept SNAP EBT or not? I know it's a barrier. Did I hear you say you do not?
No, we don't accept it. We don't.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I see Courtney mentions in the chat, Healthy Bucks, that team needs more support also. So, all right, we have some after action follow-up items. A lot of homework from this call.
So, okay.
Yeah, no, this is great. I mean, all my program areas needs more support, but you know, I don't have the FTEs, and so we have to think through that, right? I'm a state agency that hasn't had funding in 10 years. So yeah, we'll look at all these things and think through how we can figure it out. But yeah, it's not always easy. So that's why
And
we're here talking about it.
I definitely, again, just so much appreciate Mike and Amber, your participation. And I certainly want the takeaway to be that we're all here to help, to have these conversations and lift up these issues. So we're at 2:34. Time once again has flown as we're having fun, but I would love to give SERO the last word. And just again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, I think Brian's been trying to chime in here. Let me turn over to Brian before Mr. Taylor comments.
Mr. Taylor actually says he lost connectivity, so I don't necessarily want to give final comments. I just want to thank everyone for being here. It's good to touch base at the local level. I think we tend to view SNAP in data terms sometimes with dollars and participants, but it's good to think about individual recipients and customer service at the local level. So I had dropped a link to some information about becoming an authorized retailer in the chat. We have a retailer authorization branch that we could probably put you in touch with, or maybe facilitate another call with them to give you more information about how to become an authorized retailer. So we appreciate the chance to talk with you today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Mr.
Yeah.
Taylor dropping off is a true sign of the times.
Yeah. So yeah, we took notes on the SNAP side. So we have some follow-up items. So we'll follow up with the team here in the state agency, and I'll pull some stuff together and schedule some more calls and provide as much support as possible going forward. We definitely appreciate the conversation.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for all of your time. SERO, South Carolina DSS, advocates on the ground in South Carolina. You're all very much appreciated, and we look forward to continuing this conversation. So thanks again, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.